So we believe that one of the best things to do is to pre-plan at a time when it's comfortable, death hasn't taken place. You can come in and ask questions, not only to us, but to any funeral home, and get an idea as to what they offer, and as important, what is your level of comfort? Where do they place the money? Where do they place this money if I'm to pre-plan it? Here in Florida, seniors are really protected because not every funeral establishment can offer pre-need and receive money before death takes place. You have to prove to the state that you have a particular net worth that satisfies the level of comfort established by the state. Then they do a background check of every funeral director within that operation to ensure that there's no felonies, there's no embezzlement, there's no charges brought about them, and there's no deficiencies at all. And then they want to review what the contracts are, what the pre-need contracts are, and where you're going to place the money. Because the money is not the funeral home's money. The money is not the funeral home's money. The money belongs to the person who is making the arrangements. It's always their money. The only time it becomes the funeral home's money is when the death takes place. The funeral home provides the service, and we generate a death certificate that has our name on it and the name of the deceased, and we send that to the trust department of whatever bank or insurance company we use for pre-funding. Then and only then will they release the funds to us for the services provided. The state also mandates that when you pre-plan a funeral and you prepay a funeral, that funeral home has to price guarantee the services, even if it's 5, 10, 15 years away from the time it was funded. And people will say, well, how do they do that? We do that because we place it into a trust fund. The trust fund is earning interest. The trust fund is compounding that interest, and that keeps abreast with rising costs of funerals. What we do at Legacy is if a family comes in to us and pre-plans and prepays, and to the best of my knowledge, we're the only funeral home that will let people cancel their funeral and prepaid arrangements at any time. At any time. And they can get a full refund of the monies that they funded, with the exception of a processing fee, which is $95. If they choose to use an insurance company that specializes in funding funerals, there is no processing fee. However, it's very difficult to get your money from an insurance company. That goes with the person if they move to another state. And that would be paid to that provider. So the benefits over planning your funerals in advance of need is that you've taken care and protected yourself from what we call inflationary increases in funeral cost, because they're price guaranteed. So no matter how funerals go up, the funds will have to satisfy that, even if it's a loss. Even when the trust fund or investments selected by the bank, not by us, we're not investment counselors. The bank's trustees make those selections, and we're away from that. We have no influence over what the trustees do with the money. There is a fiduciary responsibility that a bank has, and it's a bank that has to have a trust department. Not every bank has a trust department. So the regulators, the bank regulators, looks at the stability of that bank, and they are able to form a trust department within that bank. And that's where the pre-need funds are placed. Same thing with an insurance company. The insurance commission wants to understand that this is a viable, well-managed insurance company that has a very high net worth, and they want to know how they invest the money. They want the money to be invested conservatively. And the state ensures, too, that the money that is invested is there for the consumer. So that's really the end of my talk, but I'm sure that we have a few questions that you would like to ask. There's got to be some questions. There's got to be some questions.
Can I kick you off? Can you go through the process? When you sit down with a family, they're doing this pre-need process.
Right.
The documents that you're going to need, and just sort of walk us through if we're sitting in that meeting with you.
Sure.
And maybe why it's important to the children.
Right. When a husband and wife, or a wife or a husband comes in, they can do one of two things. They can just basically start a record, or they can take it all the way to fund it. Some of the things that we need is to get some permissions and some consents into place. So at the time of death, we can act. We can go to the place of death and transfer the person who has died from the facility, the nursing home, the assisted care facility, or a hospital, and bring that person into our care. We also go over, if it's cremation somebody wants, we also go over the cremation authorization to get that in place. We also have a claim, what we call a claim of authority, that the person who is making the arrangements has the authority to make those arrangements. Are they the next of kin? Is this the spouse? Is this the child of the person whose arrangements are being made? We place those into a file. They're in a fireproof safe, and we have them at the ready. And what we do is we give everybody who pre-plans a laminated wallet card that has the number of the contract on it, the person's name, who is the beneficiary, our name and telephone number. And we make about 6 or 7 of those and give them to the person who makes the arrangements. They, in turn, can distribute them to children, to advisors, to a nursing home, that they have it on record, that they know who to call in case somebody is traveling. They want that information. We also have the mechanism in place that if a family has gone through most of their assets and they have gone into, or soon will be entering into, a Medicaid situation, and then to qualify for Medicaid funds to pay for nursing home care, they want to look at the person's finances. And one of the allowable expenses is to place money in an irrevocable funeral arrangement. And what that means is that the money that is placed into trust and the money that is placed for the funeral service has been spent. And it's irrevocably assigned to whatever funeral home provides the service. It may not be us. It may be somebody in Michigan. It may be somebody in Boston. Maybe somebody in another Midwestern state. Or it may be here. It may be here. So, with that in mind, it is really the thing to do. To pre-plan, to pre-fund your funeral arrangements.